Hello, 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 and here's another day on TinaSpeaks, and I'm with the beautiful Ella Joyce.
Hi, Tina.
Everyone knows that she is like my favorite. You know you're my favorite.
And I just love you for that. I'm glad to be people's favorite.
That's right, that's right. So we're here on the show. We're going to be able to get caught up to date with all your developments.
Okay.
And we have a live audience that is viewing in right now. They're
right
logging
now
on there right now.
Wow, that's
Facebook. So
that's exciting.
They're watching you and sending you love, you love.
Send me love, y'all. I need all the love I can get.
Well, you're getting it.
Thank you. Thank you.
So when we get back, we're going to jump into a whole bunch of this different stuff.
Great.
But everybody, it's Tina, Michelle, and Ella Joyce on TinaSpeaks.
All right.
Yay. That was Green Onions, and that's a personal joke between me and Miss Ella. That was her first professional debut on theater stage as a thespian. Was her debut on her talent show contest, Dancing the Green Onion. Now, what you guys didn't see before we came back, she was doing the dance of where it originated from, right?
Yeah.
It was Little Sally Walker.
Little Sally Walker is where the Green Onions dance came from.
See, those are things that we don't like to talk about too much. Those were back in the day. But I love the fact that you can actually point to certain points in time when it comes to the arts and theater and what has changed, what has progressed.
Yeah.
So
when you've lived long enough, you know, you remember all of these things. People have passed, but then you're carrying that memory. And so I would love to teach the young kids today about the great dances we grew up on.
I remember dancing with my grandfather, doing the funky chicken.
Oh, yes. I did a mean funky chicken. Funky chicken, the African shingling, the four corners, the funky four corners, the bop, the twist, the peppermint twist. I'm probably one of the few people left on this planet that can still do a mean, authentic camel walk.
Camel Walk
by James Brown.
To do it, but
when James Brown say we all get together in any kind of weather, and we do the camel walk. Hey. hey, and I can do the camel walk,
Oh
baby.
my goodness!
I can do the camel walk.
Back to the camel walk. But see, these are things in history. A dance, a food, a language dictates a culture and a time.
Yes,
right.
Yes, it does.
So tell me what was happening when you first started your career. Let my audience know who you are.
So long ago, as a child, I just always dreamed of being an actress. You know, I grew up looking at television like so many of us did, and television was sort of around, I hate to say this because it makes me old, but it does. It was sort of in an infant stages. So you didn't see a lot of black sitcoms, and when you did see one, it exploded because it was the only one that was there. So I grew up, you know, just worshiping shows like Good Times and Julia and the Jeffersons and, you know, Sanford and Son. I grew up on all of those shows. But when I was a little girl, those shows weren't even around, so they were nothing but white shows for us to look at. And I didn't know anything about racism. I just watched the shows and enjoyed them. So I soaked up the Carol Burnett's and the Lucille Balls and, you know, all of those wonderful actors of that time who happened to be white, but that's all that I had to look at. So my first performance, I was like 7 years old in talent Girl Scout show, and we had a little dance that we did to Green Onions, and we did a back bend.
You did the dance last time. It was so cute, I couldn't stand
Girl,
it.
we did that dance. Now you got to imagine, we're like, you know, 6 and 7 year olds, right? So you know we must have looked real cute,
really adorable.
Okay, with our little outfits on, and Green Onions was the song, the hot song, #1 by the Booker T and the MGs. So we did that little dance, baby, and they gave us applause. I was bitten. I was like, you mean all I got to do is do a back bend, everybody start clapping for me? I love it. Then I did a little tap dance. My mother taught me when I was 8 years old in the Girl Scouts on Broadway. You know, neon lights are something else on Broadway. Well, I did me a little shoe step, baby, and got a standing ovation. That was it. So the nuns started putting me in all the plays.
You said nuns, so you were in a Catholic school?
I went to Catholic school.
Okay.
And they put me in all the plays. I was always the lead one. If there was ever any little singing groups that got together, it didn't matter whether I could sing or not. They just put me out there in the front. Well, you do Diana Ross because you're extroverted. You know, you got a lot of energy. So you be Diana Ross, or you be the lead of the Vandellas or the Marvelettes.
Well, you didn't mind.
I didn't mind none of it. Girl, I even got with a little singing group. We did the Temptations. There was some little girls I was with, and one little girls liked to play the drums. And so they had a little band, and they shoved me out there to be the lead singer. So we was doing songs like Get Ready and My Girl. You know, of course, we was doing My Guy.
Cousins. We didn't have a talent show, but, you know, I was raised in the church.
Yeah.
So what we used to do is we used to do processionals in the living room and take offerings of our families.
Yeah, yeah.
We used to take offerings.
Yeah, I love it.
We were like, boy, we were in church too much as little children. My little cousin Trevor, the baby, used to direct us, you know.
Yes.
And then we start singing.
Well, see, I used to do that as a kid, too. I used to write plays and assign roles to everybody in the neighborhood in the summertime when we were out of school. And this is when I would go to Chicago to visit my grandparents. And so we would put plays on in the backyard, make lemonade, invite everybody's parents. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, and Chicago, Illinois, both cities. And they would come to see the plays, and I said, now you say this, and when he say that, you say that. Now, I'm only like 8 years old. I didn't know nothing about writing out a play, but I was writing a play.
You were directing.
I was directing.
You were telling everybody what to do.
And I was telling everybody what to do. And they would do it, and everybody's adults, their parents, they just loved it. Oh, that's so cute. So by the time they heard that I became an actress in real life, nobody was surprised.
It made perfect sense.
It made perfect sense to them, and I just loved comedy. I loved drama, too. I was always told I had the ability to really communicate my feelings to people, so I could make people cry, and I could make them laugh equally as well. You know, some people do one genre more than the other, but I seem to be able to fall into both, sort of a changing chameleon as such, and I can make people cry, I can make people laugh, I can make people think, you know.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
So, okay, take this journey with me. You're 7 years old, you're doing the talent shows, right?
Yeah.
Your parents are there.
Uh-huh.
Do they always support you?
Oh, yes. Well, my father was always working most of the time. He worked for General Motors. So he always sent my mom out to scout and check. And my mom came. Right. My mom came to everything. And she still does, even today. I mean, the movie I'm in, Tyler Perry's movie, Temptation, it'll be released March 29th. My mother already has her ticket to come to Atlanta to the screening.
Oh, so it's in Atlanta. I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, it's going to be in Atlanta. I heard there may be one in New York as well. But the one in Atlanta will be, the movie is released March 29th, but the private screening will be March 15th. My mother already has her ticket. She comes to see everything I do. When I do my Rosa Parks piece, she flies to all the different locations that I go to come. She's been doing that since I was a child. Matter of fact, at my Girl Scout talent show, my mother was a hairdresser, and she was at a shop, and I was a diva even then. I would not go on until my mother was in the house. I'm like 7, 8 years old, right?
It's like, where's my mother?
I'm crying.
I need my motivation.
Oh, yeah. I was crying. I was crying. I was bent up crying because I had learned everything so perfect from my mother. Because she taught it to me. And I had my little outfit on and everything. My mother had me in what they call a little hobo outfit. So I was dressed up like a little man with a little derby hat on, and I was doing the little shoe step. Well, I was not going to do it until my mother was there. Oh, my God. My mother actually left the lady with her hair in the bowl. She said, your baby is crying and she is hyperventilating and we can't get her to stop. She won't perform until you're here. My mother rushed over. They see, here she is, baby, here she is. I saw my mama, girl, wiped them tears, got out. The neon lights are much too much on Broadway. I got up, did my little dance, got my standing ovation. My mother loved it. She went back to work. Back to that lady's hair.
That's the stuff that makes a child move forward, right? Yeah. We have the love motivators, and sometimes we have the pain motivators.
Yeah.
You know, I had both. I had the single mom that raised me. Yeah. You know, she was there for me. She loved me. But I also looked around in my neighborhood, and I saw pain.
Yeah.
And I saw poverty.
Yeah.
So that drove me.
Well, the pain and the poverty is what makes so many of us so good at what we do.
Yes.
That's why we produce so many great musicians and singers and actors. And our arts, our dances, they're so well received, and the whole world wants to copy us because when you come from poverty, you are forced to dig down within yourself to express yourself and to be all that you can be. And look at the people that we've had that have come from nothing, that have become millionaires doing what it is that they love to do.
And it's either, right, it's either pain or pleasure.
Yeah.
Right? I teach my clients, my coaching clients, that we are motivated by only two things in life, right? Getting away from pain or moving into pleasure. There's nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they go, no, that's not true. I did this because of this, or for altruistic reasons.
Yeah.
Why do you have the altruistic reason? Even makes you feel good. That's still that's still pleasure.
Yeah.
Right.
But the thing that pushes you is that passion. And that passion is either from the pleasure or it's either from the pain.
Was there a moment where you felt that this is the turning moment for me? This is the moment that defined whether or not this is a hobby or this is my career. Was there a moment for you?
Well, probably many moments throughout my career, but I would guess the biggest one would be when I gave up my secretary job at Ford Motor Company as a grown woman. And I gave up my secretary job, which I was one of the first black women to work at what they call the glass house, the greenhouse on Executive Row. So I was a secretary for all the big white bosses up there, and there weren't any other black women up there. You know, I had to type 4 times better than the rest of the white girls that were going for the same job just to get in there. One day, I quit my job. And I decided it's either now or never. And I was in my 20s when I did that. And I quit. I left Detroit. I moved to California the first time around. I was a member of the workshop over there with the Groundlings for a little while at first. And then they invited me to join, and I couldn't because something sent me to New York.
Okay.
And then I went to New York for matter of fact, I even did a film that nobody knows about. When I first came out here.
Let me get a mental picture right now.
In the early 80s. It was my first little film that I did. Nobody knows it. It's called Dance of the Dwarfs. And I went to Manila, Philippines to shoot it. I was invited by a mentor friend of mine, actor John Amos, to be in the piece. It starred Peter Fonda. It starred Deborah Raffin, who just passed this past year.
Dance of the Dwarfs?
Dance of the Dwarfs. And I played a featured creature, and I did some extra work. That was me in my 20s, just starting out, trying to get whatever I could get. Soon as I shot that in the Philippines, something happened that took me to New York. And I stayed in New York for 9.5 years. Doing plays, regional theater, taking acting lessons, doing whatever I could to be serious as an artist. And then I ended up back out here in the 90s when I landed a show called Rock.
Oh, it's just that little show called Rock.
Called Rock.
That's where I remember you. I was like, oh, I remember her. I remember her. But what was really interesting, as I keep reading this over and over, this is Miss Joyce's list here of the things that she has done.
Yeah, just a few of them.
Just a few of them. It's like you have to keep looking at these movie titles to say, that's right, you were in that.
Yeah.
And one of them was Set It Off.
Set It Off, yeah. I played the detective chasing the four women.
And Set It Off, right?
With John McGinley. We were the male detective and the female. It wasn't
until you mentioned that, then I went, that's right.
That was me.
That's your face.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you've done your first movie, right? What was that point? And everyone has it. I had a point that was just like, okay, this is the hardest thing I have ever done. Am I even cut out for this?
Yeah.
Did you have that
I'm always asking myself that. I asked myself that last week. Well, if they cancel Bells, what am I going to do next? Am I cut out for this? No, I'm just teasing. It happens, you get those dry times and those disappointments, and the disappointments you get in showbiz really are like nothing you experience anything else in life, because you're putting yourself out there, and it's not like people who sell toothbrushes or microphone equipment or whatever.
Like the product.
They don't like the product. Well, your product is you. So it's a lot more personal, and it's a lot harder to get past the rejections to stay in the business. But once you do, you become an old, tough old crust like me. It's like, oh, is that the best you got? You got another left hook for me? Another punch? That's the best you can do?
That becomes a new motivator, right? That becomes a new motivator. When they keep saying no, and you just know
and
that
you just keep doing. You just
and
keep
you
doing.
go, and then you get little phone calls like, what you said changed my life. Or you spoke directly to me when you spoke into the camera. That's the stuff. That makes it all worthwhile.
What makes it really worthwhile, even when you're not being paid a lot of money, is when you have fans that have either spent their money to come see you in a play, spent their money to come see you in a movie, spend their time watching you on television. They're invested in you. When they come up to you and tell you something that they saw that you did made a difference to them, or entertained them, made them laugh till they cried, made them cry because it was sad, made them think about something, you have affected people's lives. Entertainment is so powerful because it affects people's lives.
That's right.
That is what makes it all worth it for me. The people calling me now and reaching out to me on Facebook and on Twitter, telling me how much they love Bells, I don't think they have any idea how much that means to actors like us, or to all of us. To hear that from them, that something you're doing that you're being paid to do is making a difference to somebody else. Now, they could not like it. It's not going to make any difference. I'm still a paid performer. You see, I'm paid to do what I do. And there's no rule that says everybody black has to like every black show. There's some shows you like, some you don't like. Every show that come out don't have to be representative. But it's nice when it is.
Yes.
It's wonderful when it does, and people leave it behind. I haven't figured out why they haven't been showing rock in any reruns yet. A lot of people have been telling me that it was one of their favorite shows.
It was one of my favorite shows.
And they wish that they would show it.
And what I liked about rock is that it was a suburban family.
Yeah.
Dude with a job and a wife. And it was a suburban family.
It was
so
wonderful.
I liked what that show represented. For me, who was raised in Tarrytown, New York, in the suburbs, I wasn't raised in Harlem or in Brooklyn or
Baltimore, where it was taking place.
I was raised in the suburban. It wasn't a very wealthy neighborhood, but everybody worked hard, and I felt rock represented that.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Tina Speaks. I love that song. That is Kelly Price, Come On, Keep Moving, and You Don't Stop. I play it all the time. It's like my audio coffee.
Okay.
When I need to remember to keep moving in one specific direction.
That's right.
I love to listen to specific things just to make sure my environment is straight.
Music is very important.
It's very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
So before we took the break, we were talking about, those things that keep motivating us, right?
Yes.
And those moments that are sometimes so hard, and we were joking that sometimes it's all the time.
Yes.
But they're so hard that you wonder if you're cut out for it. Do you remember a moment where you were just proud? You were just proud?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I guess. Well, I was proud of the work that I do in theater because theater is so immediate. People applaud for you right then. And if they're moved, they stand up, they give you standing accolades. You move people so much in theater. So as I was going around doing my Rosa Parks one-woman play, A Rose Among Thorns, and people were, I stay afterwards and sign autographs and talk to people, and people want to hug me and just share so many stories with me. It made me feel very proud that I was keeping Mrs. Parks's memory alive with accurate information that was moving people to go and bring their mothers or their kids or their whatever, somebody special to them to come see the play. I had people that came to see it more than once. Wow. And they would bring other people with them. I did Mother's Day at the Wortham Center, sponsored by the Houston Ensemble Theater, headed by a powerful sister named Eileen Morris. She brought my show there to the Wortham Center on Mother's Day. We had 1,100 people in the house, and all of these women were coming with their mothers, their grandmothers, their great-grandmothers with their Mother's Day flowers on, and the men were bringing the women that were special to them. I stayed for 2 hours after the play went down, signing people's autographs, all 1,100 people. I'd never been more proud that I had a piece that moved people so much like that on Mother's Day, above all days. It wasn't Black History Month. It wasn't, Rosa Parks' birthday. It was Mother's Day. How appropriate to be doing a piece like that. And
on a legacy maternal brand.
Yes.
And they come out to
and
celebrate.
to have them all
their
come
mothers
out.
And their daughters. Oh, that's
and
beautiful.
then to tell me afterwards how one lady told me she had lost her mom and she was feeling real funky on Mother's Day, and her nieces had talked her into coming, and she was so happy she came. It made such a difference to her. It brought memories back, and I felt proud. I felt very, very proud that my show affected people like that. I got a standing ovation on the Alabama Shakespeare Festival stage. We had 800 people in the house on Rosa's birthday several years ago. In Montgomery, Alabama, where that was her hometown, where it all came from. So you know how nervous I was doing the play there. You had white folk and black folk and this is where it all happened. So they know the truth, and they loved it. They loved the things that I mentioned that are not in the history books, that the kids aren't learning, that they knew to be facts. I got a rousing standing ovation from them. Her childhood friend, Johnny Carr, who was 98 years old, I think, at the time. I may be a couple of years off from that, but she was in her 90s. She came to see the play, and she loved it. Now, her and Rosa were like 3 years old together, 5 years old together, because remember, when Rosa died, she was 92. Well, this lady came to see the play. I believe she was about 96. Now, she passed a couple of Aprils ago, but the fact that Johnny Carr was there and she loved the show, that made me proud. So those kind of things are the ones that make me proud.
When you have the low lows, those are the things that you can get your mind wrapped around.
Yeah.
To remember, what's the cost? This is the cost. And here's the why.
This is why I do this.
This is the why. And
I don't do it for the money. Of course, we get paid for what we do. There's nothing wrong with that. We're all supposed to get paid for what we do. But you don't do it for the money. You do theater because it's in your heart, because you love the people.
That's right.
When I'm able to do wonderful comedy shows, sitcoms, which I happen to love sitcoms. I do. I love sitcoms.
Well, so you mentioned my two favorites.
Yeah.
Lucille Ball and Carol Burnett.
Man.
When I was a child, I loved them.
I'm wondering when somebody gonna give me my Lucille or Carol Burnett role,
That's right.
so I can just have me a group like that and have some fun. But I love comedies, and I grew up watching the sitcoms. So when we have a lot of people that still come up to me today in 2013 telling me they remember rock, they loved rock. These are people that might be anti-television, don't like nothing else on television, but they watched rock.
That's right.
That makes me proud that I was a part of a show that made our people
proud.
So proud.
And it's so important.
Yeah.
It's so important. It's so important. We had another gentleman in the studio maybe a few days ago, Bill Overton, talking about how media shapes an image.
Yes.
Right? These are the things that shape my identity as a child.
Yes.
These images that I've seen and
Yes.
how I relate to them and how I can identify with whether or not I can see myself there.
Yes.
Those are important images.
Yes, they
So
are.
when you see the kids today and they can't see themselves outside of the projects, they can't
Yes.
see themselves
Yes.
outside of a life of violence or
Yes.
outside of pain or outside of a life of abuse, it's because of our images.
The images that they're seeing, yes.
It's the images. So I love those type of shows and what they represent. And sometimes, people think they're corny. I love all kinds
And
of
that's
stuff.
okay because, the genre, there's place for everything.
That's right.
There's place for Martin. There's place for rock. There's place for Uncle P, a movie I did with little kids in it. There's a place for all of this crazy stuff. I mean, I love...
What was that movie that you were saying that when you went through the airport in Chicago, somebody was quoting the movie to you?
Yes. That was Who Made the Potato Salad. It was the security guard, child, in Detroit. I think everybody in Detroit has a copy of Who Made the Potato Salad. Now, that's like a little grassroots movie, it's they wouldn't show it at the theaters because they use the N-word and they cuss all through the movie, but it's a farce. It's a comedy farce. It's grassroots, it's ghetto, and it's fun.
And it's hysterical.
And it's hysterical. There are a lot of people that look at the movie, and it was the security guard at the airport in Detroit that told me, "Yo, sister, you was in Potato Salad, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, you saw that movie?" He said, "Yo, that movie had me rolling."
But see, it's that type of stuff that brings texture to all of our
Yes.
media.
Yes.
Right? So I look at, some of my counterparts who will say, I'm completely opposed to this type of media.
Yeah.
It's still expression.
It's an expression.
It's still
Everybody has a
communication.
right to express themselves.
And you have the right to change the channel.
And you got a right to change the channel. And I love looking at sitcoms. Now, there's some I don't like. I change the channel. I don't
You
like
have
that
thing
one.
that click.
But
You have
there's
to get
some
up.
that
Just
crack
click.
me up. Girl, I've been sitting up there. They've been doing reruns on TV One like 24 hours around the clock. It's like I went to sitcom heaven because we hadn't been seeing a lot of these black
That's right.
sitcoms.
That's right.
Okay, it's like a whole 10 years they wiped us off the networks, and there's no old shows, so they've got to go back almost 20 years to show some of these shows. And every time I see a black person show up on that screen that we haven't seen in a while, I make sure I call their name out. Oh, there's so-and-so, there's so-and-so, especially if there's someone that has passed. I mean, if you look at Good Times, you see a lot of people that have gone on to become great stars.
That's right.
Some of them have passed. And we've got young people that don't know who some of these great actors
and it's
were.
important because there's so many legacy
Yes.
moments in those shows. I remember watching Good Times, right?
Yes.
And there were so many messages that I got.
Oh, God, I love it.
So many messages. I loved Michael when Michael would say, "Boy, is a white racist word." I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
Because I lived in New York.
Yeah.
So the word boy,
Yeah.
the connotation of it,
Yeah.
I didn't know what that meant. So it made me look it up and
Look up your
ask
history
my grandmother
to understand.
what does that mean.
Yeah.
Well, and she told me the story down
Yeah.
in Virginia. This is
is
what happened, and this was slavery, and this.
And you have to understand your history, because if you don't understand your history, you are doomed to repeat certain stupid things that get done because you don't know your history.
That's right.
And so we're doomed to repeat it if we don't understand what our history was.
Yes.
And so it's important to know the origins of things, the origins, like I say, of dances, of certain phrases, certain words, certain hairstyles,
That's right.
certain looks, the things that we do. We need to know the origins of those things. And so when I look at the sitcoms now, I sit up and watch them, and girl, I just crack up all day. I love watching me some Martin.
I've never seen it.
Girl, it's like I never seen it. He just, you know what? He's our black I Love Lucy.
Yes.
That's really who he is. Somebody who do anything to make you laugh. And that's what he did. Now, I look at that. I saw Wife and Kids this morning. I was on an episode of My Wife and Kids this morning.
You've been on Seinfeld, the Jamie Foxx show.
Yeah.
Eve, Dangerous Mind.
Yeah.
Then you've done something on TLC.
Oh, the Waterfalls video.
The Waterfalls video.
You know, don't go chasing waterfalls.
I'm thinking the Learning Channel. You're talking about the group TLC.
TLC. I play the mother whose son gets shot in the drug deal.
You know what?
That's me.
I'm picturing it, and it's your face.
Don't go chasing waterfalls.
Wow. So you've been everywhere.
Yeah.
Just for those of you who don't know,
wait a minute. That particular video got 8 worldwide MTV awards.
Wow.
And the person who directed that video is F. Gary Gray, who also directed Set It Off.
Okay.
I collaborated with him in my part in that video. And so I did that, and so he worked hard to make sure I was in that movie, Set It Off.
That is awesome. Okay, so now going to the films, Selma, Lord Selma.
I did that movie. That's a Disney movie which dealt with the famous march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge for civil rights, for voting. And I did that movie with my dearest late friend, Yolanda King, Martin Luther King's daughter, who passed. Her and I were in that film together. She was a longtime friend of mine, and I just loved her to death, and I miss her terribly. And it was so funny because we hung out in Georgia during the month that we were down in Selma. We hung out in Georgia and hung out in Alabama. Can you imagine what it was like? I had a little car to drive, and Yolanda would ride with me, and she's driving me all around Atlanta, giving me history lessons, baby.
Oh, wow.
Taking me up to Stone Mountain, taking me everywhere. Her daddy was talking about it. She took me everywhere. And that was one of the most special times in my life, to be able to say that Martin Luther King's daughter was one of my closest friends is a privilege and an honor. And that's Selma, Lord Selma. We both used to tease because I wanted her part and she wanted my part. And I was like, Yolanda, I don't understand why they don't just ask you what part you want. You Martin Luther King's daughter, they should just ask you what part you want.
You want to play.
But they gave her the part they gave her, and she's wonderful in it. And they gave me the part that they gave me, and I think I'm pretty wonderful in it. I played Journey Smollett's mother in Selma, Lord Selma, when she was 12. In the Tyler Perry movie that's coming out March 29th, I played Journey Smollett's mother again. She's a grown woman now.
Oh, wow.
So I play her mother in the Tyler Perry movie.
Starting with the first movie that I'm talking about, all the way to one of the last movies, which is Tyler Perry's Temptation, which is coming out very soon. Right, I'm going to say I'm going to read the list so that people understand what you've been on, and I want you guys to get these.
And those are movies that I put on. A lot of them I had to take off. Those are ones that I could just fit on one page.
Wow. Okay, so Google her and get all the information. The movie Salvation, Reality Bites, Set It Off, Her Married Lover, Stranger Inside, A Simple Promise, Bubba Hotep.
Bubba Hotep. I got a lot of fans that love Bubba Hotep.
Oh, really?
That's a wild movie. I like doing wild movies,
better than
too.
Who Made the Potato Salad?
Well, it's a different genre.
Okay.
Bubba Hotep is more of a horror movie, camp. It stars Bruce Campbell. And Ossie Davis. It was his last completed movie I got to do with Ossie Davis. He's in the movie, and it's really weird. It's a wild movie because Bruce Campbell is playing Elvis Presley, who didn't die. He went to the old folk home, and Ossie Davis is playing John F. Kennedy because the monsters done changed his skin and made him black, and and I'm the head nurse. It's a wild movie, and there's a mummy running around whose name it was the Bubba Hotep.
That was okay. So you're saying Hotep, like as in the pharaohs,
like the Egyptian dynasty Hotep, but he was a Bubba Hotep because he's from Texas. So the Bubba come from Texas, and the Hotep come from the 3,000 long dynasty
in the pyramids,
Egyptian dynasty.
Someone had a vivid
but
imagination.
and you know who the director of that movie was? Don Don Coscarelli. Now, Don Coscarelli did for those that are horror fans, because I love horror movies too, he did all of the Phantasm movies. Phantasm 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
You know, a lot of people know those movies and very familiar with them, where he directed that film.
That was during the Nightmare on Elm Street period.
Yeah, with Freddy Krueger and all of that. Yeah, I like horror movies.
So, okay, so you have this litany. I want you guys to Google her.
Yeah, and they can go to my IMDb page.
Yes.
Or go to ellajoyce.com and hit the actress tab, and it'll show if you want to see my IMDb, you can go on there.
You've done so much work.
I have been fortunate. I've worked all my life. People just didn't know me until I got the show right.
Well, you're like a chameleon, because even the last time I spoke to you, when you said set it off, I had to think about it. I said, yeah, you were the sexy chick cop.
Oh, thank you, baby.
Hey, you wore that uniform. You know, we look good in our uniform.
Yeah, and I was chasing with my 9mm Glock, baby.
That's right. That's
right. You know, they had to teach me how to shoot a 9mm Glock.
Let's see, that's a powerful position.
Yeah.
Powerful position.
Yeah.
And then now you're telling me...
I was shooting at Queen Latifah, okay? The star of the movie. Bam, bam, bam.
So you told me that, I had no idea that you were even in the movie.
Isn't that so?
Because you're like a chameleon.
A chameleon.
But when I think about it, I go, oh my goodness, that is your face.
That's me.
We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to talk about some of your other endeavors. Is that okay?
All right.
This is Tina, Michelle, and Ella Joyce. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. We're back with the beautiful Ella Joyce.
Thank you.
Here on TinaSpeaks. You know, what's so wonderful about having this discussion is that, you know, I'm sure that our audience is listening and are going, wow, what a beautiful brand. And what a beautiful voice.
Oh,
we're so proud of you.
Thank you.
We're so proud of you. And many of us aspire to be just like you. So I hope that's not too much pressure.
Not at all. You know, I actually love giving back. It's one of the things I like to do. I've been an acting coach throughout my career at certain stages, and I've actually taught some big-name people. And I love teaching the young people what I know, because one day, you know, we'll be gone. I'll be gone.
It's our responsibility, actually.
All of that information and that wisdom that gets taken with you. I was telling my husband just the other day, actor Dan Martin, and people know him from The Bold and Beautiful and a lot of stuff he's done, Gridiron Gang, a lot of stuff. And I told him, he and I both were directed by the great Lloyd Richards, who used to be at Yale. He was the dean of Yale. And I got a chance to do the August Wilson plays, being directed by him. My husband got a chance to be directed by him doing a Lee Blessing play. That's a white play down at the big theater. I think it was the Alliance Theater down in Atlanta. But he was directed by Lloyd Richards. And I told him, I said, you know, we're among some of our few peer actors that are left that can teach his technique. We're the ones that are left to teach it. You know, there are a lot of actors that came through his era. Some of them are just working and not necessarily teaching, you know, and some are actually teaching. But there's not a whole lot. I mean, those of us that came through Lloyd Richards, look at where all their careers went. Angela Bassett, Apatha Murkison, Charles Dutton, Rocky Carroll, Delroy Lindo, Keith David. I mean, I could go on and on and on, naming the great actors that were directed by Lloyd Richards. And we all learned his technique. You look at where their careers went. Look at where Sam Jackson's career went. He did 2 Trains Running with us when we first started out doing it. Look at where all their careers went. That's because the man knew something.
Well, and here you are being just as generous by teaching it also.
And I try to teach and give back.
And that's critical. And see, what people may not know is that you're an author, you're a director, a producer. What's your website again? Ella Joyce?
EllaJoyce.com, which is easy for people to remember, or they can go straight to my play, which is A Rose Among Thorns.com, and it all takes you to the main website. MissThingProductions.com. That's my website.
So you've done all these different type of jobs where, you know, people I've told, many of my clients will say to me, people say, just choose one thing and do it. I chose not to choose one thing and do it because the one thing that I'm doing is communicating.
Yes.
So the thing that people point to is actually not the thing at all. It's not TV, it's not radio, it's not writing, it's just communication.
Nowadays, you have to acquire all of them because technology has changed on us. It's not what it was when I started out. So I had to learn how to do Facebook. I had to learn how to tweet a little bit. I didn't want to do it because I'm from another era. But I'm looking at the kids. They all doing it now. And I'm like, well, I don't want to be left behind. So I got me a few little kids, took them to lunch, and said, y'all teach me something about Facebook, baby. They said, oh, sure, Miss Ella. And they showed me how to put up my page and how to do a few things because I'm not going to school to learn that. I didn't learn it in school. None of that stuff was out there. So I had somebody that finally taught me about the hashtags on the Twitter, and I'm not as good with Twitter as I am with Facebook, but I'm learning them both.
Less obtrusive because you can sort of sit there and see your posts and
kind of learn it, but they keep changing it, and every time they change it, somebody has to show me the new thing.
Do it all over again.
What does this timeline mean? What does it mean? You know, it didn't used to look like that. But you have to do that. You have to be adept in all media areas today. You can't just do one. You know, you can, but it's better to your advantage if you can slip in and out of TV and maybe do both genres, slip in and out of theater.
It's called branded media.
Yeah.
You're branding you. You're not branding it. You're branding you.
Yeah.
You are the brand.
Yeah.
Not it, not what you do. And I think it's important for people to understand that. Even when we have artists and entertainers who say, I'm not a role model. Yes, you are, actually.
Yeah.
Because people are looking at your role that you're modeling.
They're
no
watching
matter
you.
What.
They're watching
You're modeling something and they're looking at this role.
Even if you're the type of role model who's showing all negativity, they still watching you. If you're showing everybody how to live a quick, fast, deathful life, you know, you're going to die quick. Somebody else is watching you. Now, they'll either say, I'm going to follow your footsteps, or I'm not going to follow your footsteps because you live fast and you died young.
That's right.
So I'm going to go a different way. I believe everybody's life is an example for us to pay attention to. When I was coming up and wanting to be an actress, one of the things that I did was just scour and read people's biographies. All of the actors and the people that are in the business.
They're your virtual mentors.
I wanted to know.
But you have to know
But they become your mentors. And I read biographies. I read Sidney Poitier's biography, the first one that he wrote, when I was a young actress. I learned so much, the information that I carry in my career right now, because he was generous enough to share his highs and his lows. A lot of people don't share their mistakes with you.
It's generous with the truth.
And you have to be able to share the good things as well as the things you might not be so proud of if you're going to teach other people. And so that's what I do. I read their books. I read John Belushi's book. Now, that was an unauthorized biography, but it taught me something about what happens when you get to Hollywood and too much fame can hit you so fast. What can happen to you? And I was crazy about John Belushi, which is one of the reasons why I read his book. I was so hurt when he died. And I wanted to read, you know, how do you be making so much money and have everything going for you and you take a wrong turn or you're hanging out with the wrong kind of company? And all of this is important in this business. The people that you hang with, the people that you allow to influence you, all of the places that you decide to go, what type of parties do you go to?
That's all critical.
It is.
I mean, we talk about this a lot on my show because a lot of the emphasis of my show is coaching, right?
Yes.
So when I ask you questions, I'm asking questions specifically hoping that people will see themselves in the question and see how does this apply to me as I'm watching this. I ask people to actively participate in the media that they are watching.
Yes.
So you're also an author.
Yes.
Okay, so let's show everybody your book before we have to close out.
Thank you.
This hour is almost over.
Thank you.
Okay. Kink phobia. Can we get a good shot of the this is, you sold about 3,000 copies of this book by yourself.
Yeah, out of the trunk of my car.
Out of the trunk of your car. And this is about natural hair.
I think I'm responsible for a lot of sisters running around now with all that beautiful natural hair that you see on their heads right now. A lot of them told me that because I published this book in 1999 into 2000. This is 2013. I sold all those books back then.
Wow. Wow.
And this is when I was first...
You're just second edition. Because you have a lot of girls now that are going to natural hair.
And I'm thinking about coming out with my second book, which will be Kink Phobia 2. And it will, you know, now that you got all that hair, how do you deal with it? How do you deal with it? And so that's what I want to do, is begin to show the other hairstyles you can do and the healthy ways to maintain your hair. And all the different things you can do. See, in the book, I also show how you can wear like what I called neo locks. That's when you twist it if you don't want to permanently lock your hair. I cut out all the perm, and this is when I was one of the first people to wear a natural back in high school, when people were getting fired from their jobs for showing up with natural hair.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Back then, if you wore your hair natural, you got fired from your job. It was an issue.
People are still getting fired from their jobs for wearing
Yes, they are. Yes, they are, for wearing natural black hair.
One of our beautiful sisters in Miami,
a
journalist.
Yes, I heard about that.
With natural hair, and she got fired.
And she got fired.
She did actually a whole week worth of content on going from relaxer to natural, and then they fired her.
And then they fired her
weeks.
For wearing her natural black hair. Nobody fires you for wearing natural straight hair, but they fire you for wearing natural black hair. I was one of the first people to wear cornrows.
Look at that. That is absolutely
This
beautiful.
is before they discovered the technique of extensions.
Okay.
And what we call them was cornrows. That's all my hair braided flat to my head.
See, I love cornrows when I was a kid. I loved it with my kids. I can't believe that this hour is actually over.
I can't believe it's gone.
I want people to look for Kink Phobia. I want you to Google her name, Ella Joyce. Find out everything that she's been in and support the art.
Thank you. Support the art.
And when she's live, go and buy the ticket. And also, you're doing a juicing book, and we'll talk about that next time. Because I want to be your guinea pig.
Good. Well, hopefully I have it done by then.
We just test your juices on us. We'll be good. Just test them on us. Thank you so much again for being with us.
Tina, it was a real pleasure. And thank you for letting me talk so much about the things I've done in my life.
I love it. I love listening to it. Because all of us, we're books waiting to be read. Right?
Yeah, I think so. And I got to start writing on mine. I've had a lot of people tell me, you need to put some of your experiences down, Ella. People want to know about these things. I said, I never thought I had an interesting life. And when I talk to people like you and people keep me talking, it's like, I guess I do have a bit of an interesting life,
Well, you're a treasure. You're an absolute treasure. And I can't wait for you to come back again.
Thank you,
We love you so much here.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us on Tina Speaks. This is
Tell
Tina
me to watch
Michelle.
Bells tomorrow.
Watch Bells tomorrow.
Friday night.
Watch Bells tomorrow on
TV1.
On TV1. I didn't want to say the other one.
Yeah.
On TV1.
On TV1.
Watch Bells.
10 o'clock.
We want them to be renewed for another season.
Thank you.
So support, and write in.
Yeah.
Thank you for being with us. This is Tina Michelle and Ella Joyce on Tina Speaks.